Okay, so we're gonna try something a little bit different today, a little bit longer than what I've been doing for the last few weeks, I think. And it's this favorite video game meme that I saw on a video game forum, which I want to say was most likely Facebook, but I can't remember. I saw theirs, and instead of just posting it into a forum someplace, I decided to make it a video and give a little bit of backstory or answers, extended answers to all of these. Some obviously longer than others. So let's not take too much time and jump right into it. Favorite game of all time is Jet Set Radio. That's a joke. This is an inside joke that my brother and a couple other friends will know. We used to always say that all the time. We used to love Jet Set Radio, and it was fun. So we used to always say it's the greatest game ever. We go, Jet Set Radio, greatest game ever. But the real answer is kind of hard, and I'm pretty sure you obviously think it would be Monster Hunter, which even as I'm still filming this, it's like, can I give a definitive answer? Because it's gonna be between Monster Hunter and Metal Gear. And it's like, wow, can I pick one game, right? I have picked between Metal Gear, which was my favorite Metal Gear, which would be the fourth one. But Monster Hunter, that's still a large debate for me. I still haven't picked whether I like Generations Ultimate over World. But with Metal Gear, it also has a very special story too, because how I got into the Metal Gear series as a kid was the very first original one, the NES one, I got on my birthday. I can't remember exactly what year, but I did get it for my birthday as a kid. And my grandmother gave it to me, and the way she gave it to me was she came into the room dancing, singing Happy Birthday, and holding the game. And the thing is my grandmother gave it to me before my Aunt Deanna, who was the one who actually bought the game, was going to give it to me. So my Aunt Deanna was upset that I got the present a little earlier than I was supposed to. But for me, Metal Gear always has a very special place in my heart because of that memory so long ago, you know. So it's hard for me to pick my favorite game of all time, and I don't know how anybody definitively does this. Because I literally made a career of Monster Hunter. But I gotta say, I mean, if I had to pick one that I could keep playing forever, it would probably, at the moment, it would probably be Monster Hunter World. I've still played the game, and I'd still play the crap out of it. I'm still going. I put over 5,000 hours in it, and I'm still playing with my sister and her husband. So let's just go ahead for now and put Monster Hunter World in this box. All right, cool. So number 2, best story in a game. This one belongs to Xenogears. Hands down, I've never played. I mean, there's a lot of great games with a lot of great stories that I was totally encapsulated by. But with Xenogears, again, everything has they're tied to excellent memories. And I was in my late teens when I got this game. I remember I saw it at a store in Hawaii. It was called Toys and Joys out in Kaimo Key. It was the place to go to get imports, Japanese imports. It was a great place to go get games. And I remember just seeing that big red X. And this is before Toys and Joys was before the GameStops, before everything was big. This is where we went in Hawaii to go get video games. And I bought it. It was late in the afternoon, almost 4 or 5 p.m. And I had to catch the bus there. I had to go all the way to the other side of the island to get it. And I caught the bus back home, put the game in. When I finally got home around 7 p.m. And I did not put that game down. And I was supposed to open. And I was working at McDonald's at the time. And I was supposed to open. I called in sick to play that game. I stayed up. Literally 24 hours the first day I played it. That's how much I was in to Xenogears. And the story, it resonated with me in so many different ways, especially with the heavy religious implications in the game. And I was, going to church at the time a lot. So it was huge. It was huge for me at the time in my life. I want to play through it again, but I'm not exactly sure when I'll get the opportunity. But hopefully, like I said, hopefully I will get to play the game. And Xenogears is by far my favorite story, best story in the game. Favorite art style, number 3. Favorite art style. This goes hands down easy for me too. Before I get into this, a lot of these were knee-jerk reactions, and some of them I had to give a little more thought. This one easily came to me. It was Odin Sphere. I loved the art on this game. It was beautiful. It was a 2D side scrolling, but it was it was for me. It was like beautiful art. The way they hand drawn all the art, it was great. It was beautiful. If you haven't played it, it's a 2D beat 'em up with RPG elements to it. I would recommend it with multiple endings. So I would recommend giving it a shot, just so you can see the beautiful art yourself. And yeah, that's it. So let's move on to number 4, favorite soundtrack. Again, this was also hands down easy for me. Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain. Mostly because of Peace Walker. I think that's the name of the song, Peace Walker. That's like my favorite song. The rendition they have in that game is by far my favorite. But also they got an excellent 80s soundtrack that kind of accompanies the game too. So not only is the actual score really great, but also, you know, the additional music they add to the game. Number 5, hardest game. So it was funny because I got to talk to my boy Mr. Cuso before I made this, and we discussed about what we thought was the hardest game. And he actually beat this game, and I never did. It was Friday the 13th for the Nintendo, the 8-bit. And I never, I don't even ask me how you're supposed to beat it. I don't even understand. Maybe he can make a comment about how you're supposed to beat it. He argued that Ninja Gaiden was probably the hardest game ever. And that's definitely one of the hardest ones. The birds are annoying. And you know what I'm talking about if you played it. The birds are goddamn annoying. But mine, I chalked it up to Friday the 13th for the Nintendo because I never beat it. So that was my hardest game. And it was like, what the hell do you help beat Jason? It was annoying. Anyway, moving on to number 6, funniest game. This one was hard because it's like, what game really makes you laugh? I don't really have that. Usually what makes you laugh in games is the way for me, is especially if it's multiplayer, is how the other person reacts or laughs to whatever's going on. So initially, one of my first thoughts was like playing GoldenEye and how mad people would get at me about using proximity mines. And their reactions would make me laugh a lot when we were playing that. So I remember that being funny. But if I had to pick a game that I think that kind of like was funny, would be Kung Fu Chaos on the Xbox. Love that game. It was funny. It was hilarious. I had a good time, and I wish I never sold it. I regret selling that game all day, every day. It was a good time. Very good time. This next one was hard. Number 7, you like, but everyone hates. And it's like hard to, like, first of all, because it's like, even the next one is you hate, but everyone likes. It's hard to imagine people actually hating a game. Like, it's like, you know, like, that's kind of really powerful. It's like, you don't like it, you don't have to play it. So, I in my brain, I guess it's like I enjoyed it, but other people didn't enjoy it, didn't like it. Is kind of how I went about thinking about this. So, if there was a game I liked that I know that it got poor reviews and everybody thought was horrible, would be Kasumi Ninja for the Atari Jaguar. I remember people thinking that was an absolutely horrible Mortal Kombat ripoff. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was stupid. It was goofy. It wasn't as, I don't think it was as bad as everyone said it was. But yeah, I mean, everybody has their opinions, right? Everybody's entitled to their opinions. And I'm pretty sure you could Google it and see how poorly it did. Number 8, you hate what everyone likes. So this one was interesting because my knee-jerk reaction went to it because I'm one of those stupid guys that when something's extremely popular, it's like, you know, I was like, oh, it's cool, I don't like it. You know, like I was one of those, I'm kind of always want to do this, and it's something I deal with, I struggle with, because it's like, don't hate it until you try it kind of thing. So initially my first thought came to Fortnite. I'm like, why is everybody playing this game? It doesn't even look that great. You know, like whatever. And I've never tried Fortnite. So I was like, it's not fair for me to list Fortnite here. So this one took a lot of soul searching for me to go, well, what game does everybody like that I didn't like that I tried? You know, and it takes us back to the 1990s, and it's Ken Griffey Baseball. I have friends that swore it was the best baseball game of all time during that time, and I was staunchly against that. I believed that either Super Bases Loaded or Baseball Simulator, Super Baseball Simulator 1 were the best baseball games at the time. But everybody swore Ken Griffey, and I think it's just because Ken Griffey's name's on it. I'm pretty sure somebody will find this video and totally disagree with me, because you can, even now, like I checked to see where, you know, like how it rates, and I found some website, and Ken Griffey is still rated the best baseball game for the Super Nintendo, and I'm like, it wasn't that good, but that's the one I had to pick for that. Number 9 is underrated. This was hard. It was a long list of things I love games, because underrated is kind of weird, right? Because the game I first thought of would have been Alien vs. Predator Extinction. I think it was like what do you call those? A strategy game. And I'm pretty sure at the time when it came out, like a 6 or a 5. And I thought that was not like, I was like, it was a lot better than 6. I was like, it's not that bad. It was actually, I would say it was a 7 or 8. I enjoyed it. It was a really good game. But what I thought was more of an underrated game, and this is because I'm the gamer sense, because Alien vs Predator is like a large, it's a name, like it's a big brand, right? So I mean, it's more known. So I went with something I thought like that would be less known, which would be Bouncer. But even when I checked Bouncer, a lot of people rated it as a very good game. But I remember the time it wasn't popular. Like it just didn't seem like a game that people bought or played. And I mean, you would expect, like I would have expected them to make a sequel to it because I thought it was a really good game. It was really fun. The characters were neat, and I remember being deeply impressed with the voice movement, like use the lip movement, because most games back then, like they had voice acting, but it was just like you would just see the head move, but no lips moving, or they had lips moving, but it didn't match. But in Bouncer, I mean, if my memory is serving correctly, it's been a long time. I want to say it's been over 20 years since I played that game. I remember being deeply impressed with how it seemed like the voice acting really matched the lips, and I was like, wow, this is really good. I know it's like you're making an underrated game because of the voice acting. I said the game was fun. The game was fun, and it just kind of surprised me that it didn't grab more attention, and it hasn't had sequels or anything else done to it since then. So my number 9 is Bouncer is underrated. Overrated. Again, this is another one where number 10, overrated, is where I look at it and I thought, it's one of those things where everybody likes these games and I didn't play them, so I think they're overrated. But I haven't played them, so it's not fair. And among that was games like Elden Ring, Uncharted, Fortnite. I'm like, why is everybody playing these games? They can't be that good. They don't look that good, but I haven't tried them. So it's not fair for me to say that they're overrated, right? I have to play the game. So a game that I have played that I think was completely overrated was The Last of Us 2. Because I believe it received accolades for like Game of the Year and other things like that. And it's like, I don't know if it was that good. I mean, it was definitely, the story was interesting and fun. Gameplay's cool, but I mean, it's a completely subjective thing, right? Like what people look for in a game. And this is probably maybe like a controversial statement, but I think it was more popular among people who like haven't made a lifetime of playing games, like, and what we all look for in games. And I think, I guess you could say if it was the most accessible to the mainstream audience, yeah, sure. I guess that's an excellent argument for, Game of the Year award because, yeah, I mean, it's a game anybody can play, right? I think, it's not extremely complicated, not extremely difficult. You can get through it. It's not hard. I think anybody who hasn't played games can play it. I mean, so that's a good reason why you could say it would be Game of the Year. But as a gamer, as a lifelong gamer of over 30 years, I would say it was overrated. It's a great game, but I don't think it's the Game of the Year. So moving on to number 11, best voice acting. This one was hard and took a lot of thoughts to think about too. My gut went with Mass Effect because I really liked it. Like the voices seemed to match everybody really well. I think that was, what I think about when I think about voice acting is when you look at the character and it's like, does it match? Sometimes people pick voices for characters and they just like, what is that? That's weird. But I'm actually going to pick something a little bit different for this. It's just actually for one character. And his voice always sticks with me. And I remember being upset when they switched him because they re-released the game once. And it's Gray Fox on Metal Gear Solid when he was the ninja. Like his voice, I loved the voice acting, the voice effect they did do. I mean, that's not necessarily acting, but it's like literally my favorite things. And I remember when they re-released it for the GameCube and they switched him. And I was so angry. I was like, why did they pick a different guy? Why didn't they get the original guy back? But Gray Fox. So in this one, best voice acting goes to whoever the guy who voiced Gray Fox in the original Metal Gear Solid for the PlayStation. So that's number 11. Number 12, worst voice acting, hands down, Resident Evil. The first Resident Evil on PlayStation, voice acting is abysmal. Go try it for yourself if you haven't heard it. It's horrible. Number 13, favorite male is going to be, and see, this is interesting because between 13 and 14, I didn't know if they meant like we had to play him or not. So my 14 for favorite female is going to be an NPC. But for 13, I did pick a person. Actually, you don't even really play him either, actually. No, you do. My favorite male would be Big Boss. But before he was Big Boss, he was just Snake, right? So on Metal Gear Solid 3, Big Boss, the character himself, just kind of reminds me a lot of like even regular life, like how, because it's between him and Zero and how you could take one meaning or what stands for something and how people can grab two different meanings. And I just love how he stands by what he believes in so hard. That's literally why I love Big Boss. He literally believes, and he does nothing to stop to get it. That's Metal Gear is also one of my favorite games, so I'm extremely biased in that regard. And this is my entire list. Of course, I'm be biased. So, favorite male, Big Boss. Favorite female is a non-playable character, and it's Boss from Metal Gear Solid 3. I just loved her character. I mean, like, obvious answers would have been like Samus from Metroid or other things, but for me, there's a deep emotional attachment that goes to Boss and how basically she affects the entire Metal Gear series. Like, everything is really based on her one action that she had to do to sacrifice herself. Kind of really spends the whole, kind of almost spins the whole Metal Gear series into what it becomes is because of her actions and what she goes through. So that would be my favorite female character. Favorite protagonist. This one took a long time for me to pick because it ended up not being one. And I know it doesn't seem fair, but it goes to Final Fantasy 3 here in America, Final Fantasy 6 in Japan, and it's Edgar and Sabin, the brothers. And the reason why I picked them is because I have a brother. We're not twins, but I just love the theme that Edgar and Sabin have, and I loved how they still came together and it would, they overcome adversity. I mean, it's brothers, and when you have a brother, it's kind of special. It makes it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain when you have a brother that you're close to. So let's move on to number 16. Favorite villain would be initially gut reaction Kuja from Final Fantasy 9. But when I really got to thinking about it, I like my villains, the typical cheesy villains. Like, I want to take over shit. Got a guy. Sorry for cussing. But I want to take over. Actually, I'm sorry. There's a video I'm making later on. I cuss a lot. Well, not a lot, but I drop a big one. Anyway, I like the typical villains that just want to take over stuff. And let's just do it. I was going to do it. Or the typical, I want to rule the world, or I want to, this kind of stuff. And I picked Darth Malik from Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. He's definitely not definitely. If I probably think about this some more, I probably would pick someone else. But Darth Malik from Knights of the Old Republic, he checks all the boxes. Like, typical villain, great. And I love Star Wars. So, not a whole deep explanation for that, but let's move on to number 17. Most hated character is a new character in a new game, and it's Vantage from Apex Legends. I don't hate her as a character, and I don't hate the voice actor herself, but I hate the voice acting. I mean, it's hard to pick a character you hate, and the voice acting for her just feels completely off for me. It irks me in the worst way when I have to play with her. She annoys the ever-loving crap out of me because it doesn't seem like my brain just doesn't want to accept her as who she, like, what her character is supposed to be, as this person who was a survivalist and who has gone through some tough stuff, and come out on top. And usually when you meet people who have gone through extremely dark and hard times and have done things what they do to get out. I mean, obviously I've never met anybody who had to survive harsh elements and other, surviving wild animals and other things like that. But I've met people who have survived difficult times, very difficult things in life. And more often than not, they tend to be stoic. They tend to be very calm. They tend to be, and Vantage just seems to be like this, hey, how's it going, guys? How's it going? Her voice it's just like, it doesn't work with me. I can't accept it. It's hard. And it bothers me. And I think if they would have fixed it, because she seems to be a bit of like, hey, I got funny jokes. And I really think it would have switched if they would have switched her to like the stoic, calm person that pops jokes. And the only example I can think of on the top of my head right now is like when she drops out, when she's the jump master. And she'll be like, oh, let's go. And she goes, swallowed a bug. Good protein. And it doesn't work for me. I feel like if she was kind of like, let's drop over there. Swallowed a bug. That's good protein. Obviously I can't do the girl voice for it, but that, you know what I mean? It just doesn't. It would feel funnier, or I feel like it would, I don't know, it would work better for me. I just can't stand her voice acting. The voice actor, I don't know her. Don't take this as like I can't stand that person. I don't even know that person. I'm not saying I hate the voice actor. I just think Respawn casted the wrong person for this and had the wrong idea for this character. So, moving on to the next one. First game you played. I can't answer this. It's got to be a tie. It's between Frogger, Combat, or Pong. All the way back on the Atari. It's one of those three that are the first games I ever played. don't ask me to remember exactly which one. I don't know. It's one of those three. So, moving on to number 19, favorite company, easy, Capcom. They've been a huge part of my childhood and my life. Mega Man, Street Fighter, Monster Hunter. I mean, those are the games. And they continue to make them. They're still great. Well, I haven't played a Mega Man in a while, and I don't really. And Street Fighter 6 looks kind of lame, but and Monster Hunter's kind of getting on my nerves. Not my nerves, but they're kind of losing me with that one too. But still, Capcom is probably my favorite video game company because there's a lot of great games that I've played with them. So, number 20 is hated company, which would be Konami. And the only reason why, and as I'm hating them for, them doing business, which is a dumb reason to hate somebody, and I'm not really hating them, but I mostly hate them for what they did. It's not what they did. Obviously, it takes two, right? But the treatment of Hideo Kojima and how basically, regardless of whether if you believe it or not or whatever, I never independently verified anything. But the end of fandom pain for Metal Gear, it seems to be an incomplete game, and there's a lot of stuff that seems to add up that it was an incomplete game. And basically, Konami wanted to switch from the big budget, throwing a big bunch of money at one big title, and they wanted to go for I think like the cell phone game model where people pay to win or something like that. I read articles a long time ago. I can't remember the exact answer, but they wanted to switch business models, and they were kind of over throwing a bunch of big money at Hideo Kojima's big dreams. And you can't blame a company for wanting to make money how they want to make money. So I can't say I really hate them, but I would have rather Kojima hold on to Metal Gear and take it with him. But obviously, Konami would not let that happen, and now we'll probably never get any more Metal Gears, even though we did get Metal Gear Survive. I intend to try it someday, but from what I see, it's horrible. Well, whatever, we'll see. But I've never been a fan of that. It's always been kind of bitter and sad for me, that happened. So, speaking of depressing, number 21 is depressing game. So a lot of people are probably thinking that the answer would be some kind of game where it has a deep story and it makes you feel sad, but mine is actually not that. It's NFL Street. That game pissed me off. So, it obviously didn't lead to any kind of depression. But it's my favorite story to tell because I remember at the time I was playing and I was running. They play Iron Man football where you play both sides in NFL Street. And I remember I was playing a team where I had Ricky Williams on it. And I remember it was Jeff Garcia. He just kept tackling Ricky Williams. And I was like, there's no way that would ever happen in real life ever. And it seems like a stupid thing to get annoyed about, but it was the first time where I've never been the type of person to throw my controller or break stuff, but I almost did. That's how mad I was about it. I was like, this is insane. I was like, why is this guy who plays the quarterback stopping, almost a damn near 300-pound guy that's fast? It's like, this is insane. It's impossible. It could never happen. I'm pretty sure somebody will probably make a video somewhere showing where a smaller guy tackles people. There's obviously examples in pro football where smaller guys do tackle big guys, but it was pissing me off, and I almost broke my controller. And for me that's depressing because I've never been that angry at a game ever. I've never been that far. So, number 22, creepy game that belongs easily to Alien Isolation. I have now tried to start that game. I want to say 3 times, and I still haven't finished it. Every time the alien gets me in a locker, it freaks me the hell out. Seriously. Aliens, to put it in perspective, Aliens, when it first came out, was literally, because I didn't see Alien first. I saw Aliens first as a kid. And that was literally the scariest movie I'd ever seen at the time. And to put in perspective how scary it was for me, like the second I started hearing scary stuff happening, I would hit the fast forward button on the VCR, and I would kind of try to watch the screen to see when the scary stuff was over, and I push play again. That's how I watched Aliens. The alien always, the xenomorph always freaks me out. It has. It's not like I'm like literally scared, but I think it's like I tell people, like the supernatural scary movies never get me, but when something seems believable, like it could actually happen, those kind of get me a little bit. And Alien Isolation, that every time the alien gets me, it's like I can't help freaking out. I've never finished the game. I've tried, like I said, 3 times. Eventually, and even I think I've mentioned in previous videos, like, hey, I'll make a video about this game someday. It's never happened because I can't finish the game. So that's my number 21, creepy game. 23, happy game. This was so hard because it's like, what games don't make people happy, right, when you play them? I was like, games have always made me happy my entire life. But I thought about one game that did seem pretty happy, or like, hey, this is a fun time. This is a fun game. And it's on PlayStation 1. and it's Parappa the Rapper. That was a fun game. It was happy. I remember feeling happy playing that game. And finally, number 24, favorite ending belongs to Metal Gear Solid 3. That is easily, hands down, my favorite ending in every video game, period. So there aren't going to be any spoilers here. You're going to have to go play the game yourself and see the ending for yourself. And yeah, you probably have to play more than just Metal Gear Solid 3. You'd have to play the rest of them. So, but yeah, that's my favorite ending. And that's the end of it, but I got an honorable mention here that I would like to add to this list. And it's just a game I never started and a game I never finished, but I played the crap out of it. And that would be Disgaea. I never started that game. I never finished the game. And the reason why I started playing it is because a friend of mine who had started it and played it had told me how much the game was really fun. And there's these like shadow dungeons or dark dungeons where you can get to the bottom of it and level up characters. And that's all I did is I took his save file, put it on my PlayStation, and I just kept leveling up characters for fun, for no reason. I never beat the game. I never started the game, but the game was fun. I had fun playing the game. My brother used to call it colors because of all the colors are on the screen, but it was literally weird. Like I said, never started the game, never finished the game, but it was fun. I had fun playing this guy. So here we go. It's the end of the video. This is my entire favorite game meme. And now, if you made it this far, you know I'm going to ask. Put yours in the comment section. Let me see your 24. And if you have a 25 where it's, a game you never started, a game you never finished, but you played the crap out of it, love to hear it. So thanks for listening to this long video after, 2 or 3 weeks of short ones. So, all right, guys, take care.